question of Palestine keep returning to our screen, but why? Well, it's an injustice and denial of human rights that has persisted for over 100 years with global implications. Here is brief overview. The Balfour Declaration. The Israeli-Palestinian issue goes back nearly a century, when Britain, during World War I, pledged to establish a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine under the Balfour Declaration. British troops took control of the territory from the Ottoman Empire at the end of October 1917. 1917. Jewish immigration to Palestine. A large-scale Jewish migration to Palestine began, accelerated by Jewish people fleeing Nazism in Europe. Between 1918 and 1947, the Jewish population in Palestine increased from 6% to 33%. Meanwhile, Zionist organizations continued to campaign for a homeland for Jews in Palestine. Armed Zionist militias started to attack the Palestinian people, forcing them to flee. Zionism, which emerged as a political ideology in the late 19th century, called for the creation of a Jewish homeland. The UN Partition Plan. As violence ravaged Palestine, the matter was referred to the newly formed United Nations. In 1947, the UN adopted Resolution 181, which called for the partition of Palestine into Arab and Jewish states, handing over about 55% of the land to Jews. Arabs were granted 45% of the land, while Jerusalem was declared a separate internationalized territory.
The 1967 Six-Day War, fought between Israel and neighboring Arab states, an additional 500,000 Palestinians were forced to flee. Israel occupied Gaza and the West Bank and annexed East Jerusalem, including the Old City. In the years following, the UN General Assembly affirmed the rights of Palestinians to self-determination, sovereignty, independence, and refugee return.
The Nakba. Leading up to Israel's birth in 1948, more than 750,000 Palestinians were ethnically cleansed from their homes by Zionist militias. This mass exodus came to be known as the Nakba, or catastrophe. A further 300,000 Palestinians were displaced by the Six-Day War in 1967. The Oslo Accords. In 1993, Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat and Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin signed the Oslo Accords, which aimed to achieve peace within 5 years. It was the first time the two sides recognized each other. A second agreement in 1995 divided the occupied West Bank into 3 parts: Area A, B, and C. Area A, under full Palestinian Authority control. Area B shared Palestinian civil control with Israeli security control. Area C under complete Israeli control. However, the Oslo Accords slowly broke down as Israeli settlements, Jewish communities built on Palestinian land in the West Bank grew at a rapid pace. The settlement population in the West Bank and East Jerusalem grew from approximately 250,000 in 1993 to up to 700,000 in September 2023. About 3 million Palestinians live in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem. The building of Israeli settlements and a separation wall on occupied territories has fragmented the Palestinian communities and restricted their mobility. About 700 road obstacles, including 140 checkpoints, dot the West Bank. About 70,000 Palestinians with Israeli work permits cross these checkpoints in their daily commute. Settlements are considered illegal under international law. The UN has condemned settlements, calling it a big hurdle in the realization of a viable Palestinian state as part of the so-called two-state solution. Blockade of Gaza. Israel imposed a total blockade on the Gaza Strip on October 9th, cutting its supplies of electricity, food, water, and fuel in the wake of a surprise Hamas attack inside Israel.
Human rights groups say nearly 40 critically ill patients have died in recent months because they couldn't get out for treatment. It's a grim toll, and it's rising all the time. Agencies like Oxfam and the International Red Cross are saying it's time for donor governments to insist that Israel lift its blockade.
November 29, 2012, the date the UN General Assembly adopted Resolution 6719, granting Palestine non-member observer state status. And a few years later, the Security Council demanded that Israel cease illegal settlement activities.
However, settlements continue to expand. Despite broad international support for a two-state solution, it has not been possible to justly resolve core final status issues in accordance with UN resolutions. And that is why, until justice and international law prevail and Israel ends its occupation, we will continue to see the Palestinians struggle for their rights on our screens.